Billy Donovan has already stated that he plans to use the extended break that the Bulls currently on or to work on some things and kind of help solve some things in the offense. So today's episode, I want to look at some of the players that can benefit the most from the extended break and the practice and how Billy Donovan can incorporate those players better, some of those players better in the game plan. We're going to talk about all that, plus dive into the mailbag, all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And I want to start off with this quote from Billy Donovan, and then I want to kind of talk about what this means and how the team could use this extended break to kind of work on some things in their game, right? Billy Donovan talked about this. Billy said that the Bulls will use the significant practice time this week to work on post feeds, among other things. He talked about Nikola Vucevic only taking 7 shots and said that the Bulls didn't just miss them. They failed to execute clean entry passes and plays. And so this all comes down to this. The Bulls are going into an extended break, and they're talking about practice. But actually in a good way, and actually in a way that this team definitely needs to talk and to work on some things practice-wise. They just do. They need it, right? And the first thing that they need to look at is the half-court offense. The Bulls' offense, and I don't want to, drill home a negative point and continue, but, it really is one of the biggest things that's fixable with this team, right? The Bulls have a deficit of defensive talent, right? And I do think with effort, they can fix some of that. But at the end of the day, this team is still going to be at a defensive deficit. Yes, you hope to get players back like Patrick Williams, right, who's the last player out. And if you have a consistent, rotation of getting Io and P. Will and Lonzo and these players and what they mean defensively for this team, and even Lonzo's now, the 20-minute restriction is removed. So, they're upping the minutes restriction, and that's good. When you look at being over a little over the quarter way through the season, the fact that Lonzo missed so much time is getting that minutes restriction down, right? That's a good thing. And hopefully those players bring something defensively, but still overall, we're at a defensive lack of talent. So you could fix it a little bit with effort, but there's still some things that just because of roster construction, you're going to limit. Half-court offense, though, comes down to execution and coaching. And that's where the problem is with the offense at times, right? The defense is the defense. When you look at the offense, one of the things that really limit the Chicago Bulls offensively is that when games get close, games slow down, right? That's just the way it is, especially when you're facing off against any other team that's halfway worth their defense, right? And so teams are going to be more methodical down the stretch of close games, right? And so you're not going to get those opportunities to get rebounds and get out in transition as much because they're slowing it down. Other teams are and things like that. You may not be getting enough turnovers. So the problem is just the difference between the Bulls in the overall numbers and just when they're forced in half-court situations, right? The Bulls are second in field goals made, overall. They're third in field goals attempted. They're sixth in field goal percentage. It is what it is. They have above the break threes we're really good at. Corner threes we're really good at. Mid-range, that's where we kind of falter at, right? So as far as makes, as far as in the mid-range, we're 18th in the league. In the paint, we're 23rd in the league, right? And those are important situations for the Bulls when you're in the half court. Then even when you look at the things that we do well, the above the break threes, where we're one of the best above the break three teams in the league, when it gets into half court situations, we're hitting that at 37%. That's not great, right? It's not terrible, but it's not great either. The corner three, we're hitting that at a 41% rate. That's really good. But then the mid-range, which is less than 9% of our plays in the half court, and then you get into the paint production. While we shoot at this decent percentage at 49.5%, you still want to be closer to 50, right? Or you want to be 50 and above when you're in the paint. But, with that said, that's 16% of our half-court offense. We don't run actual half-court sets. That comes down to coaching. That comes down to execution. And that's how the Chicago Bulls can work on this offense and make it better. Even with how good the offensive numbers are overall, we can make it better if we just dig in those things. And we were much better. And like I said, let me be clear. A big part of what we're missing in the half court is DeMar DeRozan. It's been such a big difference when you look at it. Last year, right, above the break threes in half court was only 26% of our offense. 26% of our offense was above the break threes. It's now gone up to 37%. So almost 10% more of what we do in the half court now is above the break threes and corner threes. We also take now 13% of our half court offense is corner threes. You compare that to last year, 14% above the break threes and 26% above the break threes and 11% corner threes was our half court offense last year. Whereas 20% of our half court offense was shots in the paint and another 20% was mid range. Right? So we've really traded in, again, you've more modernized the offense. That's great, right? That's kind of what we talked about. But in modernizing the offense, we still should not lose so much of what makes a team be solid overall offensively. You need something to default down to when you're not just getting out and running. And that's the problem with the Chicago Bulls team and with their offense. And this is where they can work out the most. And so players that they need to kind of look to focus on, of course, Zach and Nikola Vucevic, which Billy Donovan did say. They right now are our two best players in the half court by far. By far. Like it's not even a question there, right? Now, can Coby be solid half court? Yes. Can Josh Giddey's pass in half court be really good? Yeah, it can be, right? But you got to find a way to work these two guys in more and work, again, more mid-range, because Zach LaVine, while he's a good three-point shooter, he's still solid in the mid-range. He's probably our best mid-range creator. And in a pick and pop or a two-man action with him and Nikola Vucevic could be huge. When you look at those two guys on the court, in the half court, our frequency in the paint and frequency in the mid-range go up by almost 8% respectively in both those areas when those guys are on the court. And so I'm not saying that we need to change our entire offense to be a more traditional half-court offense. I'm just saying we got to have better production when we're in the half-court offense. We just have to. And so those are two guys that could benefit the most from us practicing and instilling some more half-court ideals into this team. We got to. We got to. And if we don't do it, I'm telling you, it's just going to be a struggle of a season. We're going to keep trying to make something fit that doesn't fit. So we have to try to find a way to incorporate those guys a little bit more in the half court. And that's not all, right? I want to be clear here. That's not all. Patrick Williams has been more effective in the half court, right? So, maybe with getting him back, maybe if you actually run some actions for him, you can get that done. Now, look at another player that I think really benefits and can be used more in the half court. Now, I know not everybody's going to agree with this, but really in a large part of it as well, you got to look at Jalen Smith. You got to get Jalen Smith more involved. And the reason why I say that is right now, Jalen Smith gets involved when the point guards get him involved, right? We seen him last night or yesterday with the threes. And it's not even just that. You got to run more pick and rolls and lob opportunities for Jalen Smith. He's really the only lob threat. Well, no, that's not fair. Modest Vucevic is a lob threat. Jalen Smith is a lob threat. You got to use these guys a little bit. Patrick Williams can be a lob threat as well, but he got to get those missed dunks together to do that shit. Julian could be a lob threat as well, but I really look at Jalen Smith being that guy. And then you look at the impact that Jalen has had, right? Some people have doubted it. Like the Bulls, when Jalen Smith is on the court, they have a positive 3.7 point differential. That's crazy. Teams average 6 points less per 100 possessions when Jalen Smith is on the court. You got to find a way to get him more involved, and we're getting dangerously close to talking about Jalen Smith like we did Andre Drummond, as far as just like, why is he not playing more minutes in some of these situations and scenarios, right? Again, I'm not expecting Jalen Smith to all of a sudden be this 25 minute per game player or anything like that per se, but we could definitely be playing him more than the 15 minutes he's averaging right now, right? And one of the things that I pointed out a lot when we got Jalen Smith is how his points and rebounds per minute production were really good. They're really good. And you look at it like 19 minutes for him last game, 11 points, 4 rebounds. So far this month, he's averaging 9.5 points on 5 rebounds per game and a block per game as well. But that's in 16 minutes. We can work more Jalen Smith minutes out there. And I get it that we're still trying to run that lot of guard lineup, but some of these sets, and not even just when we face double bigs, we can play Jalen Smith and Vooch together a little bit more. Instead of waiting for a team to play it what teams have some double bigs, why don't we force the mismatch there, right? Because Jalen Smith is a very nimble player. Like he can move. And so, the benefit that I always saw when we came is that Jalen is kind of more of a fit next to Vooch than what Drummond was. Drummond and Vooch are able to get it done because they're just good players. They're able to get it done. But you can see the fit a little bit more with Jalen Smith. Now, I get it. You're not going to do a whole lot of that because Jalen is your only backup center. But I think you can do that a little bit more in some scenarios and situations, even if it is for a 3 or 4 minute spurt, to try to force some mismatch and some actions for you, especially with Jalen Smith and his 3-point shooting this season, right? So I think that's something to look at for. Hopefully, Billy Donovan looks at that and how to incorporate Jalen Smith a little bit more. He's one of those guys that I really want to see used a lot more. And then Modest Vucevic. Listen, I'm gonna throw some numbers at you. And you tell me if this is not a player that should play more minutes. And to Billy Donovan's credit, he is starting to play Modest Vucevic more. But when Modest is on the court now, the Bulls have a positive 8.7 point differential. And we're scoring 4 points more per 100 possessions when Modest Vucevic is on the court. We're also getting a higher effective field goal percentage of 1.5%. And the turnover rate, it's higher. But I got to show you the good with the bad. We're also getting 3% more offensive rebounds when Modest Vucevic is on the court. Then you flip that and look at his defensive ability. Now, Modest Vucevic is in no way some type of lockdown defender. But when he's active defender, we're seeing him be consistently more active now that it seems like he's adjusted to the physicality of the NBA. When he's on the court, opposing teams are shooting the ball, are scoring 4.5 points less per 100 possessions, what actually puts Modest Vucevic in the 80th percentile in the NBA in that period of time. The turnovers for the other team goes up because he's playing the passing lanes. The opposing teams are turning the ball over 2% more with him on the court. I'm just saying, right? And you guys know I could throw a lot of numbers at you guys at times, but I think that points towards, and again, Billy Donovan is doing it right now, right? We got to just see if it's going to be maintained. I think a big part in this, in seeing Billy Donovan play Modest more, is that even yesterday with Modest Vucevic not necessarily shooting the ball the best, we still did see Modest play a lot of minutes. And so maybe Billy Donovan is finally waking up. In the month of December so far, Modest Vucevic is averaging 20 minutes per game. He's averaging 11 points in that time, 50% shooting from three-point range, 48% shooting from the field overall, 1 block, 1 assist, 4 rebounds per game. I'm telling you right now, Modest Vucevic is starting to wake up, and I'm glad that Billy Donovan is also waking up to what Modest Vucevic can bring for this team. We just got to make sure that Billy Donovan, once Patrick Williams is back, Billy Donovan doesn't forget that, right? Because he's been susceptible to that before. And I think that's the key thing here that we also have to look at. And so, listen, half court. We got to work on half court. We got to work on incorporating some players better. And I think overall, I understand why Billy was wanting to go 10 deep. But honestly, I think now as we go forward, the Bulls can maybe benefit some from restricting that rotation just a little bit. And I get it. We're a fast-paced team. We run a lot. You want to keep everybody's conditioning, so you play more players. But I honestly think that the opportunities maybe have been spread a little bit too thin, and that some people can benefit from playing more, more minutes and phasing some people out. Torrey Craig's not playing. The ball-headed hoe, Javon Carter's not playing. Chris Duarte's not playing. Those are all guys I understand not being in that rotation. And I think we got to figure it out. And I know a lot of people, I know the call to start Modest Vucevic is getting very loud from Bulls fans, and I understand why. I'm not saying that I don't understand why. But right now, it's not necessarily about starting for me. It's more so about getting him more opportunities, taking advantage of the players that the numbers are telling you are positively impacting your game, right? And I think when you find a way to do that, that's going to be a key thing for this team as well. And let's hope that that Billy Donovan is paying attention to this, man, and that he's really looking at it, and the coaching staff. Because and I'll shoot a little bit of bail, right? You guys know I'm not a Billy Donovan guy, but I'll shoot a little bit of bail in here. It's kind of difficult to incorporate new things, right? When you're in the midst of not really having a lot of practices, you're playing a lot of games. But this is now Billy Donovan's chance and opportunity to run a little bit more things for this team, and that's really what we need. And if we can find a way to get it, if we can find a way to get there and just kind of use what we have here a little bit better, because could a move be coming? It's possible, right? I want to be clear. It is possible that a move could be coming for this team. But I think that overall, when you look at it, when Jalen Smith and Modest Vucevic are on the court together, these guys have shared 130 minutes together. The Bulls have a positive plus 30. They are plus minus of plus 30 in their minutes together. The Bulls' net rating is a positive 10 when Jalen Smith and Modest Vucevic are on the floor together. Our offensive rating is a 114, which is solid when Jalen Smith and Modest Vucevic are on the court together. Our defensive rating is 104 when Jalen Smith and Modest Vucevic share the court together. And our pace is not half shabby at 107. So, again, I'm not saying a 57% true shooting percentage. I'm not saying that these guys need to start. You need to change a whole lot of your dynamic. But what's the thing that I've been talking about so much when it comes to Billy Donovan? Understanding your lineups and your rotations a little bit better. You got something that's brewing here. And I think when you add Lonzo Ball into that, when you add those type of things in there, you're starting to see some some possibilities to uncover some of the Chicago Bulls. And what I like about this as well is that these are two young players that you hope are going to be part of your future. So wake up a little bit, Billy. Also, one of the last things I want to talk about is out of this long break as well, Coby White and Josh Giddey both got to come out of this cold streak that they're in. And yes, they are both in it. And this is your starting backcourt, right? And so I really hope that Billy Donovan, I know some people are like holding out hope that Billy Donovan changes the starters or whatever. I don't have that hope for Billy Donovan because I just don't think Billy Donovan has the balls to do something like that, to drastically change something like that. The only person he has balls to pull out the starting lineup is Patrick Williams, apparently. And that's been over the years. But I think overall, we need better from these guys. Coby's in the midst of a very cold shooting stretch for him. Bad decision-making on top of it all. And we got a voicemail on that later. But, we need both these guys to be better. They both have to be better. They are our starting backcourt. So we need them to be better. And Coby got it. Coby got to wake up. Coby talked about wanting his consistency to be better coming into this season. And overall, I know it's only been 2 games. Before the month of December, he's shooting 33%. Matter of fact, when you look at Coby White's last 4 games, he's shooting below 35% and right around below 30% from the 3-point line. We need better than that from Coby. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's not the only thing wrong with this team, but we do need better from him. And let's hope that we can get it. But all right, y'all, we got some overflow in the voicemails. We got 2 voicemails that I want to get into today. This one's from my brother Corn.
What it don't do, King Drip, it's your brother Corn. Late on the motherfucking mailbag. I just see you drop the goddamn mailbag motherfucking episode. I was like, damn. But hey, I'm just here to throw one at it, man, real quick, man. And you know me, man. I've been on the hot one, man. And, I gotta keep going, man, with this shit. So let's go at it. Cooper fucking Flagg. Cooper Flagg. A lot of us Bulls fans is like, tank for Cooper. Why? Why? Make it make some fucking sense. He's okay. He's a good defender. Would you consider him a rim protector? What is Cooper Flagg game? That's the question I have for Cooper Flagg fans. Because I'm not. He's not really one. And trust me, it's nothing to do with him. Trust me, I love Lucas, so don't go there and talk about white boys. No. Hey, if he was going to be the second coming of an actual Larry Bird, the American, white boy coming out and this going to be out there, I was waiting for it. I don't see it. Next, who do you see besides Dylan Harper? Because we can say Dylan Harper right now is probably the time. Ain't it funny? The 2 dudes that we're talking about, I'm going to talk about Ace Bailey for a second, too. The 2 dudes, Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg, are not looking too good right now, which is weird. This draft, to me, I'm going to be 100. I'm going to say it with my motherfucking chest. The only generational talent I see that actually that's going to be able to change a team is Hugo Gonzalez. I don't see nobody else, really. Maybe the center from Duke. I know I'm talking about generational talent. Yes, this is a good, deep draft, but is all of them going to be all-stars? Is this going to be another 84, 2003 something situation? I don't know. It don't make up to that because that's what they was making it up to be. Like it was the next Wade, Bosh, and Melo in the fucking draft and some shit like that. That these guys was generational. I only see one, and he's not American. All right, King, you already know what it is. Love you. D-Red.
Cooper Flagg. Here's the thing, right? There's 2 things going on with Cooper. A, Cooper is on Duke. And Duke is not, just because Cooper Flagg is labeled as generational, or not just going to run everything for just Cooper Flagg. So he still have to play within the framework of a system. Cooper has been a player, much like most young players are, that because they're so good over the course of their high school career, and keep in mind he's only 17. Over the course of their high school career, they've had everything run for them. That's not what Duke does. And you look at Duke also having a Kaman Malowik and having other players there as well that they're rightfully so. They gotta get time, and because it's about the team, not necessarily just about them, right? And so that's why you're not seeing the generational numbers from Cooper Flagg. And even with that said, I've told you guys this before. The generational label is a label that's meant for that's used by the media, right? Cooper Flagg is still having a good, and you got to look at it more so than the numbers. Look at also what he does defensively. And the last 2 games he's woken up: 20 points against Louisville, 12 rebounds, and then 22 points against Auburn, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals. He had 5 steals against Louisville. So Cooper Flagg's starting to wake up and adjust. And he's 17 years old, playing against players that are much older, that are older than him, right? I won't say much older, but are older than him. But I think one of the problems that people see Cooper Flagg and they think they can only compare Cooper Flagg to other white players. And that's where you fall short at. Cooper Flagg, when you look at him as a comp, he's really more closer, like a mix between Sean Marion and Kevin Garnett. That's what Cooper Flagg's game is. And maybe Andre Karolinko, if you're looking for a white player to compare him to. But the problem is that people want to go right to Larry Bird. They want to go to Luka Doncic, and that's not his game. People we gotta think broader. We gotta think outside we can only compare white players to other white players. That's silly. And so Cooper Flagg is still the best player in this draft. And it's not just because of offensively, it's because of what he brings in the totality of the game. Defensively, rebounding, getting steals, his IQ, they're all really good. Now, it doesn't matter. The Bulls aren't going to get him. But, to say that Hugo Gonzalez is the only – he's not. I'm sorry, he's not. Hugo Gonzalez has the chance to be one of the best players to come out of this draft. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. But his potential is not nearly what Cooper Flagg's is. And like I said before, we got to stop thinking we can only compare white players to other white players. This ain't the 80s and the 90s. These guys are athletic. Cooper Flagg is an athletic monster. But like I said before, what makes Cooper Flagg so good is the two-way play. Defensive. Cooper Flagg has the chance to have the type of defensive impact on the game of basketball. And he already has a grown man body at 17 years old. I think he'll be 21 at the end of this month. But of a Joakim Noah. That's what he can truly be, the anchor of a defense. And the offensive potential that he has is just Cooper Flagg's defense is the thing that always shines out the most to me. So, that's just a thing. And I understand where you're coming from, Corn. I love Hugo Gonzalez as well, though. So, all right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Shay.
Hey, what's up, Haize? I've come to the real. People keep wondering why Josh Giddey and Coby White doesn't work, and I'm here to tell you this. Look here, you cannot have somebody that needs the ball in there. You cannot have a guy like Coby White who is a pure scorer, not a shooter, a scorer. Play off the ball 24/7. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, good players should know how to play off the ball as well. Now, and Coby White does. That's why he plays so well with Io. But at the same time, when you have him primarily doing that, and he's not a shooting type of player like a Klay Thompson or nothing like that, and he's more of a scorer himself where he has to get his own shot, create his own offense, that's going to hurt him more times than not. Especially playing with Josh Giddey, a guy that doesn't really play off the ball. Another instance why it's not working. Both of them are really bad defenders. And I feel that, offensively, when you try to make somebody into something that they're not, that becomes a problem. That's why Coby White kind of struggled a little bit in his second season. I mean, in the beginning to find his way with the Chicago Bulls because we were asking him to play roles that he wasn't really comfortable with. Like, take, for example, primarily off the ball, that's not going to necessarily work. You need a player with him that can also score themselves and that can also allow him to do him. And I think that Josh Giddey doesn't do that for him. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, tell me what you think, please.
Josh Giddey and Coby White not working. I mean, listen, I said it before. I really am starting to feel like, and Vaughn said it on yesterday's voicemail, that it could be a similar situation to Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan. And we need way more of a sample size to say that, but both these guys have ways that they can impact the game. The question is that how much of their game are you taking away by having them on the court together or when they're out there together? How much of it can you fix with other personnel, right? Again, like we talked about before, the other personnel matters as well as when you're trying to mix and match things. And so right now it hasn't been the best. Now, Coby White has grown as an off-ball scorer and a catch-and-shoot player, which is great to see from Coby White. We still got things that in Coby White's game that we can get better at, right? And so right now they're both in a cold stretch, which is really hurting the impact that they're having as well. But this season was always coming in. That was the question. How well can these guys work together? And we'll find it out as the season goes on. But, hey, I mean, the results have been mixed to bad, depending on how you look at it. And, a better dynamic in that backcourt can really help this team out a lot as well. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.